Hey guys, it's Antics. I'm going to be bringing to you another part 2 of the Teaching ADC series, and we're going to be talking about the basic mechanics. It's like how to make it easier to hit abilities as well as to hit at basic attacks and things like that, right? There's certain things that you can do to make it easier on yourself when you're doing battle that you can help get your momentum and make it consistent, so that way you're able to do these 1v1s in lane successfully, right? So that we're not losing as many as something as well as you can practice. That way it makes it easier on yourself. Alright, so first off, we're going to be looking at a clip of my last montage that I just did, and this is 2 clips from the montage. And as you see here, we're going to be talking to you about this first one. Alright, so we already know from here, there's no one in our lane. There's nothing on the map. We know that Zeus is mid, and we know that we have 3 people in mid, which means our jungler's probably around this area or this area. Our buff timers are coming up, and so is theirs probably. So we know that we're pretty safe. We're by our tower range. If anything happens, we're free to go. We also have ulti. We have beads up. No issues, right? So this is a perfect example of one of the we'll say plays that it has a good example to it of why I'm taking this fight and why I'm doing a certain movement, right? We're going to slow it down here. Give me 1 second. We're going to put this down to, we'll say 0.5. Alright, so we know he's holding the score and he's trying to zone me from the wave. On his part, this is not the best. I know that I have more stacks than him. I'm pretty sure I'm going to rush boots in this situation. Alright, so he rolls in very aggressively, which is not the play at all. He shouldn't have rolled it. You're trying to save your escape mostly for the end of the fights. You don't need to initiate with it most of the time unless it's like you're being like super aggressive. Alright, so my dude hits the first shot. We don't get the root off. We do get our speed hits him, so we know that he's starting to strafe out here. We haven't caught our momentum yet. This is bad. At this point, right here is where we need to start changing. Right? We need to adjust to what he's doing. We need to adjust to the movement. You want to adjust as fast as possible, so that way you're able to win these trades, right? As easily as possible. So, all right, we start adjusting. There we go, and then we're following. It's about momentum, right? You want to keep with your target as much as you can, and when you have a momentum build up, and theirs is gone, it's harder for them to come back to it, especially for like lower end ADCs and not like actually good players, right? All right, that's a bad way to say it. But actual ADCs that are good, such as your high-end ADCs, pros, example like that, right? So what we're doing here is we have the momentum now. We're just doing it. So I'm gonna back it up a little bit here, get one more view of it. All right. So right here we're missing autos. We correct our mistake. We do it. We notice he's missing autos, and you notice that I'm only strafing in the patterns in which I see his character. So as you can see, his character's aiming this way. That means the next shot's going to come this way, right? So it's hard for me to example that, but we know that it's going to come right here, right? It's going to either fall here, a little bit to the outside this way, or right here. So I juke to the right. See? I make a slight juice to the right. He fixes his body. It's still going the same way. We notice that his body is turning this way, right? It's trying to correct he's trying to correct his mistakes to where he could hit me right here. So now we're going to juke to the left. Well, and you see, it's about looking at your character, knowing what movement he's doing, and knowing and seeing what the flow of his basic attacks are going to, right? So we notice that he goes that way, we ult up, we're going for the aggressive play, and then obviously we just chase him down, and then we kill him. Simple as that, and there's nothing else to it. We get the kill. I miss 2 autos here. I try to correct my mistake very fast. It was a little bit too fast. And then I end up getting the basic attack. There's one more play we're going to look at real quick, which is right here. Alright, so we're looking at this play. What's going to happen here? We know we have 39 stacks. Jingwei rush boots in this situation, so technically they have the advantage, right? Do we want to take a fight? Not particularly. But there's the advantage that we do have. That is the fact that we are playing Rama and that they're playing Jingwei. Jingwei doesn't have as much potential unless she gets her crits off. So around this level, she probably has 1 extra point in her 2, which is about 5% crit, right? Oh, get out of that. Okay, so we're taking the fight. I have to clear archers or I'm going to take extra damage, and we don't want to do that, right? So I clear those, I go for the basic X, I start missing a couple, and then he starts losing his bow. It's the same thing, guys, same thing. So we notice that he's missing. Oh, my bad. Alright, so he starts hitting, I strafe, I notice that I'm missing, I correct my mistakes. I see that he's aiming this way, so I keep juking to the right. He backs off. If not, I probably would have kept juking to the right, because juking in one pattern is harder to catch them. So if I'm juking this way, right, and he's facing this way, it takes more of an adjustment for him to correct, because most ADCs have a hard time correcting larger areas instead of correcting smaller areas. So they'll correct, it's harder for them to correct this than it is for them to correct this. Okay, so we're coming over, and then we're going to chase after them here. I did make one mistake, and that was the fact that I rolled in here. I shouldn't have rolled in. That was part one, which is kind of why this made it close. I could have kept on him easily, without doubt. Luckily for him, he hits a crit. We beads instantly here to keep it up, and both of us hit every basic in this. It's really hard to miss basics in this smaller area. So we're going to go into game here, and we're going to put this practice into work a little bit here. So the idea is to see where you're missing, looking at their character, seeing where their character is angled, right? So if he's angled like this, then you want to correct it to be over here. That's the idea. Anyways, we'll take, it's like Rama. It's pretty basic. Alright. That's the idea of it. We want to correct that mistake, and then we want to adjust to it, to how they're playing at the same time. That's what you want to do. It takes practice to be able to watch your character and watch everything else at the same time. You're not going to get this overnight. It's not going to be something that you just pick up. You have to practice it, because that comes down with just basic mechanics and stuff, right? So we're also going to, and while we're in here, we're going to also be talking about juke patterns as well with ADCs. There's a couple multiple ones that are pretty common. Some are actually not as common. They're very effective. You see a lot of like top level ADCs using it, and especially people like Clout, he uses this a lot. So let me set to level 20. Just upgrade everything real quick. Alright. So for example, if he's juking here, if he's coming, he's basically aiming right, I'm going this way. It's harder to hit, and then once I see him correct it, move slight, and then I'll go back that way. Or that's a simple way to juke. There's also another one, which is like this. This works at a closer range than a longer range. So this doesn't work as, if you're like right here, it's not going to work as much because you're kind of like standing still in the same spot. But if you're back here, it's a little easier to do. Because what happens, what you're going to be seeing is whenever I do this, right, it's like a stutter step, right? So what happens is whenever you're looking at them, it looks like you're going to go one way, but you're actually going the other. So, and it can mess with people a little bit. So that's one thing you can do. Always be changing, right? You want, whenever you're basicing, you want to, alright, probably should get boots real quick. Go. So whenever you're changing your movement, you want to always be changing everything you do, for example. And whenever you're closer, always be changing. And obviously they're not going to be completely standing still. And that's examples like that. Alright. One more thing we're going to be going over is how to basically hit abilities and things like that. Okay. A lot of people have, this is probably not the best character. I'll change real quick. Because, oh boy, it's glitched. Okay. So, there's another way to do this in terms of like hitting abilities, right? You probably, if you haven't already, you probably heard of something along the lines of waiting till they're done juking, right? That works too. We'll see. Take Uller for example. Alright, so the example is the fact that you wait till they're done juking, because everyone has an endpoint, right? And I'll show you what that is here in a second. Because the simplest way to put this in a factor is, okay, they're juking one way, and then they always come back to a center point. So, let's see, put on boots and level 20. Alright, so let's say this guy's juking something like this, right? Well, if you notice, at this each point, I go here, here, but I always come back to around this point, right about here. So, if you're watching how they're moving, you want to focus in on that one target that you're trying to do, right? And then you want to make it easy on yourself. You want to make it to where you're watching them, you're seeing what they're doing. So if someone's backstepping, which is this. So usually when people run away down to a lane, or like ADCs, they'll do this. Okay? And then they'll run, and then they'll backstep to try and backstep the autos. So that way you're throwing it ahead of them. So what you're doing is, as soon as you notice that they're starting to do a backstep, you're changing it. You're holding your auto. Or if you're, like you see it and notice it quick enough, you're just adjusting to it, right? So you see it, adjusting. That's a quick way to do it. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it's not exactly accurate because you have to readjust yourself. But the simpler way to do it is if they're backstepping, right? You are waiting. You throw the first auto. Oh, they're backstepping, and then you're correcting it, and then you're waiting for them to go straight again. Or if you notice that they're backstepping, you can always just pre-aim the backstep, right? You already see what they're doing. And then they notice that you're hitting it, so they stop, and then you're just going back to normal autos, right? And generally, when people, as soon as they finish the backstep, generally people do something like this. They'll come to the sides more. And those are way easier to follow. So they'll backstep, go to the side, backstep again, possible, go to the right, things like that. Everyone's different, so it's hard to like say which one's which, right? So what you're going to be doing is you're either waiting for the point, you're following them, so something like this, staying on that target, and you want to be moving your character as much as you can here. So you're following, just keeping the target on. This is a good way to train it, I guess, is if doing this with the bot, I guess. Not the most effective way, you know, to do it, just because he only goes one pattern, so you can do it for a little bit. But best way to practice it in game, just follow them with it, and then when you're following them, just hit it, and you're good to go, right? As for basics, and I might as well go into leading since we're talking about basics. Leading is essentially, you see they're walking, and then you fire ahead of them, right? Like that. So they're going to walk into it. Alright, the best way to do leading is to understand what your movement of your opponent's going to be. And again, this come back to looking at your opponent and seeing how the character's positioned. So the way I would do this is if I'm looking at the feet. Be careful about looking at the feet though when you're leading, because if you're not used to it and they do something like this, where that's a little stutter step, it can really, you'll get lost, right? Alright, so you'll get lost into the movement and then you'll actually miss, because this can actually messes with the mind. That's what this is. So the best way to do it is to look at the feet first, see what they're moving, and if they're starting to do this, just stop looking at the feet and look at the actual body. Because the body will position itself if you notice, Ullr's comment kind of goes back a little bit, right? So it